From 12 News, this is Newsmakers.
After a political near-death experience, Democrats were in high spirits this week as they gathered in Chicago to watch Kamala Harris accept the party's nomination.
I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
There was plenty of local flavor at the DNC, including speaking slots for Gina Raimondo and Maura Healey. But Republicans say it's all a sugar high and the polls are still tight. What's next in this wild election year? This week on Newsmakers, we'll preview the fall campaign with a political roundtable. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi. Tim White is off this week, and joining me for this week's political roundtable, Boston Globe columnist and WPRI 12 alum Dan McGowan, political strategist Cara Cromwell, and 12 News political analyst Joe Fleming. Hello to all of you.
Hello.
There is plenty of talk about. There's been all summer anytime we've gathered the troops here. But to kick things off, 12 News caught up with a number of local officials in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention on the ground. Let's listen to some of what they had to say to us.
It's been very exciting. There is a ton of energy. And as you know, the last month has been like running a very rough rapids with all sorts of things that could have gone very wrong. None of them did.
The distinction in this race couldn't be more clear. You've got a prosecutor and somebody who's devoted her life to public service, and you've got a con man and a felon who's devoted his life to serving only himself.
It is a critical election, and I think we heard last night from none other than Oprah that we have a choice between common sense and nonsense in this election.
It's been very inspiring so far. I think people are feeling energized and unified around Kamala Harris as our next president and Tim Walz as our next vice president.
It's been a great week. It's been interesting, but it's been a long week, and there's a lot of after parties, and I'm just an old man now. I just can't do them like I used to.
The speaker with a little honesty there about life at a convention once you've got a few years under the belt. All right, those are some prominent Rhode Island, Massachusetts Democrats on the ground in Chicago. So look, obviously, there's no doubt Democrats are very excited. Their situation has changed remarkably in basically a month. But I am starting to wonder, as I talk to Democrats, as I talk to my friends who are excited, if they're getting maybe a little overconfident. Because when you look at the polls, it's still a very close race. They've just gone from way down to not. In fact, let's take a look. This is the CBS News poll out last weekend. You see Harris up 3 points nationally, 51-48. That is not where Biden was, certainly. But look at that number for the battleground states. 50-50. So, Cara, what do you think? We'll start it off. Is this a sugar high or real momentum that Democrats can count on?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, honestly, it's a sugar high for now, but I think it translates into something. It translates into money. It translates into voters. It's when people have the opportunity to early vote, it's going to be like a month away from now, month and a half. They're going to remember this, and they're going to go to the polls. The other thing is, the folks in that room and the people at home who are feeling inspired are going to tell their 10 friends that, hey, did you vote? Are you voting? I don't think Biden was on the path to get that level of enthusiasm, regardless of how well a convention would have gone for him.
And I see you shaking your head, Joe, agreeing.
I agree totally. There's no enthusiasm for Joe Biden. People were just going through the motions with him. After that first debate, the campaign was basically over. The numbers were going down. He never showed any momentum to come back up. And most Democrats are saying, well, we got to support him, but we don't really want to. I think it was a breath of fresh air when he dropped out of the race.
Do you think Joe Biden could have won if he'd stayed in?
I don't think so after that first debate. I think people were very concerned that he could handle the job. And I know a number of Democrats have said, I can't vote for Joe Biden. I won't vote for Donald Trump. I just won't vote for president. And those are votes he's losing. So, I mean, I don't see a path for Joe Biden at that point. I think that's one of the reasons he dropped out. There was no longer a path to win this election.
Dan, we saw Harris, obviously she's a very effective public speaker. We've seen that at her rallies. We saw that certainly on the convention floor. One thing I've been waiting for, and we haven't seen yet, is some more unscripted moments with the vice president, now the nominee. She still hasn't done a major TV interview, go on 60 Minutes, right, that kind of thing. And of course, September 10th, the debate is coming up, a time where, she won't, I'm not saying she can't think off the top of her head, but she won't know what's coming. We'll have to do a lot more thrust and parry. What are you thinking about that as a reporter? for yourself?
Well, remember, you know, the only experience we can go off of with Kamala Harris is her previous experience running for office, right? And she had a good start, right? Rolled out very well, was considered probably, a co-favorite in many ways in 2019, not 2020. She never even made it to 2020. And so I think that is the concern if I'm, you know, in the back of my head, if I'm a Democrat who, you know, who feels really good coming off this convention and that high is very real. But now it's time to start, you know, to see Kamala Harris try to prove herself. Has to do it, you know, the big major TV interview. The debate will be, I think, just incredibly big for her. And it's the key, though, is remember, she had a great debate back in 2019 again, you know, made the big headlines, took on Joe Biden, really came out of it good, and she just ran a poor campaign. I don't think she has any worries now about, you know, the way her campaign is going to go. They've got the best people in the business on board. It's a matter of now it's time for her to deliver.
How are you thinking about Cara? We've talked about this many times. Women face different challenges running for office. She frankly doesn't seem, you said to me as we were preparing for the show, there wasn't that much talk about that she's a woman candidate. She's just a candidate for president and has the unity of her party.
I think that probably comes from her experience as a prosecutor and her background always, you know, I'll say punching above her weight. I don't want to use too many sports analogies here. But, you know, as I was getting texts from friends last night, my male friends were saying, wow, she's really strong. And I think without ever having to come out and say, I'm strong, but I'm not threatening, she embodies that.
Joe, you, I know, love to look at the battleground states. So let's look at the map. We have the CBS map of the 7 states that we are all watching. You have in the industrial north, you have Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. You've got Georgia and North Carolina down the southeast. You have Nevada and Arizona out west. What are you thinking about this map right now, Joe?
I think the map is all in play. I looked at the Real Clear Politics average, and right now Wisconsin, Harris is by a point. Pennsylvania, Trump's by 0.2 of a point. Michigan, Harris by 2. Arizona, Trump by 1.4. North Carolina, surprising me, Trump by 0.9. In Georgia, Trump by 1. They're all very close to this point. They're all up in the air. But keep this in mind, 4 years ago, Joe Biden had leads of like 6-7 points in these states. Came down to he won by like 1/10 of a point, 2/10 of a point in some of these states. Trump's always done better. It may change now after January 6th and everything that's happened, but right now, this is the election. If you notice, everyone's focusing on these 7. The rest of the country, forget about it. The candidates are going to spend all their time in these 7 states. A month ago, we had 10 states. New Mexico, we had New Hampshire, we had Minnesota, but now that Biden's out, they went back to the Democrats. So I think you're going to see a lot of action in those states. We're not going to see all the negative commercials because we're not in those states. But there's going to be a lot of negative commercials by both campaigns between now and November.
Yeah, and North Carolina seems real, too. You had the governor last night speaking. Trump, go ahead.
For a minute there, a month and a half ago, people were talking about New York suddenly being, you know, within 10 points and things like that. I think what you're going to see is because of the way the convention went and how, I think, how generally successful it seemed to be, I do think you're going to see that initial wave like we've seen in 16, like we saw in 20, where suddenly Democrats start to kind of flirt with this idea of Texas being in play or these other kind of states that are absolutely not going to be in play in the end. So, but that's what happens, right? September's a month where everybody starts to, you know, really think the map expands. It starts to contract, and Joe's right. It's going to be these 6 or 7
and
states.
you don't need to expand the map. You win Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, you win the election if you're the Democrats. So you don't have to expand the map. Don't spend money where you don't need it.
And of course, as Cara alluded to, massive amounts of money are flowing into the Harris campaign now beyond what Biden had, which lets them advertise in those places. Cara, let's talk about Donald Trump. You've worked for Republicans, you've worked for Democrats, you know both parties. He's clearly struggled to adjust to this new reality of Biden out. Sometimes he writes on Truth Social, he's still pining for Biden to come back. You know, we've been told many times this is a more professionalized campaign than Trump had in 16 and 20. What are you watching to see if the Trump campaign, and frankly Trump himself, can get their arms around their new situation and be maybe a little more strategic than they've been in this first month taking on Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to separate the person from the campaign, too, because I do think he has a professional operation. Whether or not they can control him and what he says seems to be a different story, because if they could, I think he would be a different candidate right now. You know, he's still obsessed with the number of viewers that were at the convention. Like that's a point of winning.
Right.
Remember, crowd size, things like that. I don't think you're going to change that about him, but the fact that these things have been pointed out so many times now makes him, he becomes more of a joke. I don't think they can control that. I think they can do kind of the blocking and tackling of a campaign, but until they have their arms around him, I don't think it's going to change.
Joe, we should allude to the fact that you know, even if Harris loses, part of the reason that Biden was forced out by Nancy Pelosi and others we know behind the scenes is because he wasn't just going to lose the presidential race. Right. They were worried he was going to lose a bunch of otherwise competitive or even safe Democratic Senate and House seats that are now firmly back in play for them.
The Democrats feel there's a good chance they could take the House. Now these seats, as you said, are back in play. There's a couple in New York. This helps the Democrats greatly there. The Senate is a little tougher. I mean, you're going to lose West Virginia, so you're losing a seat there. Montana could be a little tough, but other Democrats seem to be doing quite well now, and that's a big plus. And the more Donald Trump stays off script, the better it is going to be for the Democrats in the House and Senate races. No question about that. The question is, can they keep the momentum up for the next 74 days?
We have to go to break, but Dan, one quick thing I want you to weigh in on. You're an astute observer of media. You always have been. I'm struck by how Harris instantly had this. We usually talk about a free media advantage, meaning news coverage, and that matters. But this free media advantage on social media, where we went from Biden, I mean, all you saw were clips of him like tripping and stuff like that, to people making memes and Brett and all this stuff that people are just doing themselves because they like her.
Yeah, the culture has shifted tremendously. I mean, it is that people like to, you know, they want to put up the TikTok videos. They want to, you know, the youngs, right, want to do all this. That used to be us, right? There was a time for that. The thing too, though, is even I think with the mainstream media, you know, for a while I think everybody had kind of thrown in the towel. Joe Biden wasn't doing a lot of interviews. I think there wasn't even a lot of energy within the people who you know, the CNNs of the world, the New York Timeses of the world. Now everybody has a new, you know, shiny new thing to be able to talk to. You get all the stories about, oh, look at how social media friendly she is, things like that. And that now, again, as I said before, it's kind of her moment to try to deliver. She's going to have to do some of these big interviews alongside of all this kind of social media to really prove that she's ready.
Reporters love nothing more than a new twist. All right, let's go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the future of Rhode Island's former governor after her turn on the debate stage. Stick with us on Newsmakers.
My dad found his American dream in a watch factory in Providence. And that job gave him a way to provide for our family, a community for him to belong to, and so much pride. But like so many Americans in the 80s, after 25 years of his hard work, his job and the job of all of his friends was shipped overseas.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi. Tim White is off, and I'm joined for a political roundtable by Boston Globe columnist Dan McGowan, political strategist Cara Cromwell, and 12 News political analyst Joe Fleming. You just heard, of course, an excerpt from Commerce Secretary and former Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo at the convention. I feel like she's told that bull of a watch story before. I don't know if it has a faint echo that maybe I've heard it. But I do think it's interesting for people locally to ponder what Raimondo will be doing next. You know, she was said to be on the VP list. It didn't seem very serious that she was really vetted for that. She's not known to be close to Kamala Harris. I don't know if she'd have a role, want a role in the cabinet. You know her well, Cara. What do you think's next for Gina Raimondo in this new Democratic Party situation?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I think it remains to be seen what, you know, she'd want to do, right? I think she has shown herself in the last 4 years to be it has solid Democratic credentials, right? Obviously very smart, has done big things. I mean, I noted one night, two of the things that were cited were broadband and the CHIPS program, and two of the things that are obviously she was in charge of. I'll be honest, I think the world's her oyster. She could also come home and, you know, set something up and do very well financially. So she's got, you know, yeah.
I will say once again, she said to me very emphatically last time I was in D.C. interviewing her, she is not going to run for U.S. Senate here. She's not interested in that. Dan, she also did a lot of media this week at the convention. She had some high moments and some low moments.
Yeah, she had a great interview with Axios that probably didn't get seen as much as her was it the ABC interview that she did, where she kind of fumbled over some job revision statistics, and she's getting kind of beaten up a little bit by the Republican Party. I think, to Cara's point, I mean, look, if you think of the presidency as the Kamala Harris playing quarterback, to use sports, you need people around you who are talented, and Gina Raimondo has proven time and time again she's a super talented person. She may not be best friends with Kamala Harris, but there probably will be a spot in the cabinet if she wants it. But she has a lot of things going for her. And remember, while I fully believe that she's somebody who wants Kamala Harris to win, if it doesn't work out, 2028 looks wide open. You maybe take your shot as a candidate for president.
We'll keep the speculation alive. Yeah, Joe, let's turn back to Rhode Island. This is a really sleepy election year locally. I know there's a few interesting races for sure, but we've gotten spoiled. I was thinking about it. Special election for Congress in Rhode Island 2023. Ton of races, including an open house seat in 22. Over the border, 2 big primaries in Mass in 2020, the Kennedy and Ocklaw races. Statewide contests in 18. There's nothing really competitive. No offense to the candidates, but nothing truly competitive right now at the federal level in Rhode Island.
No, you got a Republican primary for U.S. Senator, which will have a very small turnout. But then you go to the general election, where Sheldon Whitehouse has a huge war chest. Then you have our 2 congressmen who are both first term, and there's really candidates running against them that don't have much money, who are not household names in the state of Rhode Island. So that's a very sleepy race. And all 3 Republicans are going to have a real tough time just to get some traction this year. So, I mean, I think the Democrats are in a strong position at this point for the statewide numbers. And House and Senate races in Rhode Island, there's not that many either. There's very low numbers. There used to be a lot more primaries. There used to be a lot more special interest groups pushing people. We don't have that this year. So we've seen a big decline in primaries.
Yeah, Patrick Anderson at the Journal had a good piece a couple weeks back noting all the hubbub around lefty challenges to establishment Democrats. Really, a lot of that's petered out. Dan, what are you watching then at the municipal and state legislative level? Yeah,
the big one is Cranston and the Republican primary for mayor there. You've got Mayor Hopkins against Barbara Ann Fenton Fung. And so, that's I guess I would call it the marquee matchup in our state this year. Funny enough, it's a race that will probably be decided by 4,000 or 5,000 people in Cranston, so it's a tiny turnout there. But we've seen this week they're kind of throwing bombs at each other and kind of wrestling over Republican conservative politics, in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants, things like that. But I think that's the big one. There's a couple of interesting House and Senate races, but they're a little bit in the weeds. I think Cranston, staying in Cranston, there's a Democratic primary for Senate there, District 28.
Bunch of candidates.
That's the Josh Miller seat. There's an interesting race there. In Providence, there's a couple of interesting races. We're seeing Enrique Sanchez, who's running in House District 9, running against the former incumbent, who he beat a couple of years ago, Anastasia Williams. One thing about that race, keep in mind, Rep. Sanchez won by 14 points 2 years ago, so it's not like it was a 2-point race. But it's interesting, they're really going at each other over mail ballots and who's filing a complaint against who.
And there's some talk of longtime Rep. Grace Diaz, at least some people think has a race on her hands.
Very much. Keep an eye on South Providence there. Grace Diaz has been there for a very long time. She's got a tough opponent against her former campaign manager. In fact, I believe her name is Tanya Casada, and could really be in a little bit of trouble there. That's going to be a close race.
Yeah, and a few open seats for our Massachusetts viewers over the border state. Taunton Senator Mark Pacheco retired after the longest-serving state senator in Massachusetts, and a few others, but just pretty quiet. And Cara, that makes me think about 2026 because I can't help myself. So the November election will come. Hopefully, it's decided in November, unlike last time, or it's resolved. So for people who want to run in 26, we have the governor's seat is up, the AG seat will be open, there's others on the ballot. How soon, you've worked on big campaigns, how soon do you really have to start to put things in place if you want to be competitive for a big job in 2026?
I mean, honestly, the big job, the statewide stuff, the fundraising is key. And if you can, the maxes are for every year. So
and they're higher now.
They're higher now. It's $2,000 per person. And so if you could open your campaign account in December of 2024, then you can actually fundraise across 3 years, which is a significant advantage. That's always the first thing I think about. And then obviously whether or not there are other factors that go into being, a public candidate at this point in time. But it's a little sleepy now. I think 2026 is going to be, buckle up. We've got a lot of races.
Oh, I think so. I think the governor is going to probably have a primary. Helena Foulkes is looking at it very seriously at this point. I would not be surprised if Sabrina Matos has a primary. And again, we have a couple people already thinking about running for Attorney General. So, there's a good chance those 3 statewide races will have primaries. Then we have General Treasurer. You never know what's going to happen, Secretary of State. But right now, I'd say at least 3 statewide primaries coming up in 26.
And there has been, Dan, a funny split screen, like 30 seconds left at the DNC on the ground because both Helena Foulkes and Dan McGowan are there in person. Right. Foulkes' husband is a delegate.
That's right. Well, and Helena Foulkes has, her own relationships, Nancy Pelosi, people like that. So she's making the rounds. She's getting as much attention as Governor McKee. I'm sure he must be just incredibly annoyed by seeing Helena Foulkes everywhere he looks while he was in Chicago this week.
Very interesting. It's like 2022 never ended. It just has continued.
It
all right. Joe Fleming, Cara Cromwell, Dan McGowan, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm sure we'll be having you all back because there'll still be plenty to talk about. When we come back on Newsmakers, we're going to talk a little about some big news in the hospital world. Stick with us. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi. Well, politics may have dominated the headlines over the past week, but there's also been major news about the future of the region's hospitals. On August 16th, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey announced deals to sell off the remaining hospitals owned by Steward Healthcare. That's the much criticized company that filed for bankruptcy back in May. One of the buyers is Rhode Island's largest hospital group, Lifespan, which has agreed to purchase St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River and Morton Hospital in Taunton. It's a significant move for Lifespan, which currently owns no hospitals outside Rhode Island. That's also why the transaction caught the attention of Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona, whose office scrutinizes hospital ownership changes. In an interview earlier this week, Nerona told me he plans to review the proposal on antitrust and charitable asset grounds, but also says he thinks for Lifespan, it's probably a good thing.
No matter what the mix is, it's going to be more, they're going to be a greater reimbursement than in Rhode Island. Because in Massachusetts, Medicaid reimbursement's higher, Medicare reimbursement's higher, and commercial reimbursement is higher. And so if you're a Lifespan, the ability to get Massachusetts patients into your system means more revenue on a person-to-person basis versus Rhode Island.
A bankruptcy judge has scheduled a hearing on the proposed hospital purchases for next week. And that's all we have for this week on Newsmakers. But as you see on your screen, next week, Tim White and I will moderate a primary debate between the Republican candidates for Cranston mayor, incumbent Ken Hopkins and challenger Barbara Ann Fenton-Fung. This one really heated up this week, so you won't want to miss that debate. And as always, thank you for joining us on Newsmakers. Tim White will be back next week. We'll see you here.